right, hey guys, this is Michael Hall from Helium. After the Toronto Editions.dev talk, I've been meaning to sit down and just record this since it wasn't recorded on site. So here we go. App ads, sustainable strategies. I joined Helium back in 2019 as the company was transitioning from agency work to going all in on apps, and the Shopify App Ads were launched shortly thereafter in early in 2020. As soon as they went public, I started using them and never looked back. This is a little outdated now, but says we've achieved over 8,000 app installs. We're actually about to hit 10,000 app installs. So that's an additional 2,000 since June, which I feel like is pretty great. We're still over a 14x ROAS, and that's 700% growth is also accurate. So one of the things I shared with app developers that I continue to share with app developers is that I am not a marketing expert. I don't have a formal training in marketing. I'm a generalist, both in business and marketing. My background is in accounting, and now I'm the COO at Helium. So I do of a 12-person team. So I do all kinds of things. Doing Shopify ads was just a learn it one step at a time type deal, and been very successful with that. So yeah, here's my little joke about being the COO of a 12-person company. I'm sure a lot of solo app developers can relate to this. One thing I've learned in business and in marketing is to meet customers where they're at. I think it's pretty silly to invest in other channels if you're a Shopify app developer, if you're not investing a good percent or the majority in the Shopify App Store. Every merchant has to go to the Shopify App Store to install an app, so you should definitely be advertising where they are. That's the Shopify App Store. So what I'm going to go through in this presentation is to, first of all, experiment, be hands-on to test and measure and optimize. If you can do that for 90 days, start some ads, test and measure over the first few weeks, get in there weekly, bi-weekly, whatever you can afford, to see how ads are performing. And I'm going to give you some tips for starting these ads. Budget $500 to $1,000 a month and commit for 90 days. That's going to give you the data you need to see if Shopify App Store ads are really going to work for you, or if there's other things you need to do to hit that elusive product market fit. So first of all, I want to talk about the jellyfish strategy that I've employed at Helium. I love David Attenborough, BBC documentaries, and in one of them they talk about the jellyfish, how jellyfish exist in all oceans. That's the exposure. When conditions are just right, when they find food, they explode in population. And on the flip side, if conditions get bad, jellies can literally shrink back to their polyp phase to sustain and wait it out until the conditions are right again. So this is my strategy for marketing in the Shopify app ecosystem, is to be present in all these oceans, right? So here's the 5 oceans I've identified. The Shopify App Store listing. This is your landing page for people installing your app. And so focus on App Store optimization. Number 2, Shopify app ads, driving people to that listing. Shopify app ads, it's a highly relevant way to get people to your App Store listing. The Shopify community forum, again, meet people where they're at, and merchants are asking questions on the community forum. It's a good spot to both hear directly from merchants what their problems are, to meet those problems with your app, and also to connect your solution with merchants who are looking for something like that. Going further out, content, SEO, and social media. So blog posts on your website, social media posts. Helium has invested in blogs long-term, and long-term that's driven a lot of traffic to our site. Finally, ecosystem, Shopify partners and experts. I cannot underestimate how vital this has been for Helium throughout the years. Before I was even on the team, our founder and other people on the team would go to Shopify Unite. We hosted a Shopify meetups in the Seattle area where we're from with other Shopify partners, And we still have many, many relationships that have started, way back in 2015, 2016, that have really fed into our app success. For the purpose of this talk, I'm focusing on these two things: App Store optimization and the Shopify App Ads. Because this is your App Store listing. This is the one chance you get to convince people to install your app. And I love the simplicity of this. Here's an App Store ad. View these constraints as a helping tool. If you're a solo app developer, and you're probably spending 80 hours a week just coding your app, this is freedom to be able to launch an App Store ad that all you have control over is this app tagline and your app name and logo. And if you've got something that people want, this is a great way to get it in front of them. Okay, so we're going to talk about levers that you have as part of App Store ads to refine, to focus. So the levers are available to you: keyword, that's exact and broad match; geo-targeting, country and region; surface, home, category, and search; and the newly announced back in June, the merchant plan, which is for built for Shopify apps only. I have primarily focused on keyword search, both exact and broad match. I've done very little geo-targeting. I've primarily search as well. I also do some category ads. And then our app actually isn't built for Shopify yet, so we're not in this category either. When you're launching Shopify ads, ideally you have some keyword data that you've gathered from Google Analytics, as well as your app ads dashboard. When you're creating a new campaign, Shopify will recommend some keywords for your ads. I also recommend using keyword explorers such as Moz or SEMrush. You need to know the average lifetime spend of a Shopify merchant. If you are brand new starting out, ideally you have a few paying customers at least. My advice to you would be to multiply and average what customer pays by 6 months and treat that as your LTV if you don't have like years of data to back this up. And if you can't keep a merchant for 6 months, you've probably got other problems. I do like to say, if you don't have product market fit, if you can't keep customers, you're going to either want to limit very closely what you spend on Shopify app ads, or maybe wait until you can get some more people in the door. And then you got to pay attention to your CAC. So this is kind of my marketing rule of thumb is, let's say your LTV you identify as $100 for a merchant. So that's the average of what you're going to get back from a merchant. So for CAC, this is a cash flow question for you. How much are you willing to spend on one of those merchants? Certainly you should be willing to spend $20, $40, $50 to acquire a merchant who's going to pay you $100. If you have the cash flow to float it, I would recommend spending as much as $100 to acquire that customer, because as you bring in more customers, we're going to see later on in this presentation how that affects the flywheel of your app growth. So again, for me, I'm willing to spend $100 to acquire a customer who's going to pay me $100 because of the reviews and the other momentum that brings. And I'll speak more to that here. The app ads flywheel. This is something I put together as I've thought about our success on the App Store. All these things feed into each other and help grow the momentum of your app business. So as you increase net installs and reviews, Shopify rewards you with an increased organic ranking. If your app has, 10 installs, you're not going to rank higher than your competitors that have 100 or 1,000 installs, right? Net installs, meaning people who are keeping your app. And of course, reviews, right? If you have 100 5-star reviews, Shopify is also going to reward you in the algorithm for that. Obviously, Shopify's algorithm is a black box. I don't know what's going on there. This is just a trial and error, what I've learned along the way. As your organic ranking increases, obviously you're getting more impressions, clicks, and installs, which is helping your net installs and reviews. Finally, the Shopify app ads, you're getting additional keyword data, more installs, revenue out of that. You're going to get more reviews out of those installs, so it all feeds back into this flywheel. And Shopify ads are just helping you really speed up that process and momentum. So in If you need help calculating these things, we're going to start with LTV. I use Partner Metrics. It's a free tool by the legend Forsberg plus two. Been around the Shopify forever. You can also use Hey Mantle by Mantle. And like I already said, if you're just starting and you don't have a bunch of data to back it up, pick your popular plan price, multiply by 6 months, treat that as your LTV. Customer acquisition payback period. Okay, so again, let me speak to cash flow real quick, because for a bootstrapped app business, which I'm assuming is most of the audience I'm talking to, cash flow will either kill your business or keep you in business. So I think it's really important to pay attention to your CAC payback. That is, how long does it take you to earn the money back that you spend on ads? I would say our apps sit around this like 75-day mark. After 75 days, everything that I've invested in an ad is paying off. And then the further back I go, it's all gravy after that. Take a minute to talk about this chart here. I love this about the app ads dashboard. This is real aggregate revenue. If I ran an ad back here in, I think that's this June of 2023, and I acquired customers that are still paying me, this number is going to continue to go up. Shopify is reporting actual revenue. I love that compared to like Google Analytics. Is just, you're going to assign a random value of, I think an install is worth $100, and then Google tells you how much those installs are worth. But this is real data that you can make real decisions based off of. You can look back in time and see ads I ran back here are now paying me 4 or 5x my spend. So there's no guesses here. You'll know exactly if your ads are paying off or if they're not. So just to conclude this like CAC payback, I do a spend versus revenue on the chart. I look at where those two lines intersect. It's not always quite as neat as this one is. Where those lines intersect, that's your CAC payback, which I have to manually calculate is around 75 days. Okay, I know my keywords, I know my LTV, and I know my CAC. So now we can start diving into ads. Which keywords are driving the most installs and are the most relevant? Let's create our first ad, right? I recommend starting small, bidding low. Start lots of ads, go wide with long tail keywords, monitor closely, and pivot weekly. So start small, bid low. Shopify is always going to recommend, at least that's how it works right now, a minimum bid of $1. If you see that dollar mark, that means that no one is really bidding for that keyword. I have just found through trial and error that the minimum bid is 20 cents. So a lot of my tactic and how I've been able to get a 14x ROAS on ad spend is by hitting some of these kind of lower searched keywords instead of competing for high value keywords. Some of you in the email marketing space, maybe you're paying $10, $15, $20 per click. Honestly, my strategy has been to avoid high cost keywords and go long tail, go cheap. I like to joke that if somebody's cat jumps on their keyboard, I want one of my ads to show up. And that's allowed me to acquire merchants for quite a bit lower than if I were going after these high cost keywords. Let's talk about ad optimization. Couple nuggets to take away from this. Here, Helium is, of course, our company name. When I first started ads, I didn't compete for our branded keywords because I thought, well, we're already in the organic 1 and 2, so why spend it? And I thought, I'm gonna own those keywords. I'm gonna make sure my competitors aren't beating me out for that. So you can see on $300 of ad spend, I got a lot of revenue out of that, 5,000% ROAS. So whatever, it's worth it for me to own those keywords and just do it. Also, while I was making this presentation, I found that I had a mistake, right? So here's a search term. Let's talk about search term versus keyword real quick. Right here we have the keyword helium and the search term helium. That's a match. Anytime you're using a broad match, you have the risk of a keyword or search term that is not relevant is getting served. So I'm paying for this keyword customer account, right? And because it was a broad match, the word custom is coming over here to check out custom fields, okay? This is not something our app provides, check out custom fields. So we have a lot of people who are clicking on, I'm bidding on the customer account keyword, but it's being served as checkout custom fields. You can see I spent over $300 and got no revenue, no customers, because that's not something our app does. So this is an example of something that needs to be added as a negative keyword. When you add something as a negative keyword, you can add it as an exact match, and that ensures the next time somebody searches for checkout custom fields, that my customer account keyword won't bid on that search term. So that's an example of how you can optimize, use negative keywords to optimize ad spend. Just in general, when I visit my app ads, I am focusing on these metrics. So I'll talk through these things real quick: relevance, average position, and visibility. Your relevance affects your bid, right? So for Helium, obviously, because that's our app name, we have very high relevance. That essentially means that every time people have searched for Helium in the App Store and our ad is shown, or our app is shown, people are clicking on it, right? If your app is showing up in search term and people aren't clicking it, that is hurting your relevance. So whatever these keywords are, they weren't clicked on as frequently as, for example, Helium, when that showed up in a search. Let's talk very high versus very low relevance. If you have a very high relevance, you can essentially bid less to get ahead of somebody with very low relevance. So let's say one of my competitors is bidding on the Helium keyword. Let's say their app name is Banana. So if Banana is bidding on Helium and they have a very low relevance, they might have to spend $5 a click to get ahead of my dollar per click bid on this keyword. That's just an example, but that's how relevance affects your bidding and where your app is served as an average position, right? So again, if I'm bidding $1 on this Helium keyword, somebody else is bidding on the Helium keyword with a lower relevance. If they're bidding $1 and I'm bidding $1, my ad is going to show first because I have a higher relevance. So my average position, you can see, is 1.2. That means I'm usually in that number one or number two spot, and in number one more than number two. And then also visibility. This I understand a little bit less. Obviously, that means that 97% of the time that somebody searched for the word Helium, my ad was shown. I don't really understand why those 3% of the times it wasn't. Maybe that's because somebody else was bidding way high. I guess theoretically it could also be that my ad met its budget, but I find that highly unlikely because this particular ad, I have a very high budget and I make sure that never stops running. So anyway, I don't know fully what's going on with that visibility, but when we're talking about visibility down here of 65% and 37%, those are keywords that aren't as valuable to me, so I'm bidding lower, and so I'm just getting beat out. You can see by average position as well that my ad is, when it's shown, it tends to be in the number 2 or number 3 spot. And then sometimes it's just not showing because of presumably other people are bidding higher on those keywords than I am. A while back in 2021, I think, we approached an agency about running some Google ads for our Shopify App Store listing. And they recommended spend that was a little high for our taste. They said, we want you to commit to X amount for 3 months, and then we'll see if it's working, right? So after 3 months, I would have spent tens of thousands of dollars. Whatever that number was, I'm not going to tell you, but I will tell you that I spent that same amount on App Store ads and got 7,800 app installs. So what I would have spent just to see if Google ads were working have netted me nearly 8,000 installs on the Shopify App Store. So what I would say to you is that there is no better place to advertise your Shopify app than the Shopify App Store. That seems like a no-brainer to me. Maybe that's what you need to hear today. I'm Michael Hall, COO at Helium. You can connect with me on social media. Cheers.